everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Welcome to my channel where we cut and sew and see what happens, and that's exactly what we did last time. These are not what I thought I was going to make, but as it turns out, I like them. That doesn't always happen. Well, it usually happens that I don't know what I planned, but it doesn't always happen that I like what I end up with. But then I've tried something and explored, and I've played with fabric. So that's a good thing. This week I want to do a couple more things with that. This one I'm not going to play with today anyway, but I do want to think about these two. And first of all, I want to explore what it would look like if I did, man, it's tempting. I was going to do this one and see what it would look like if I had, say, 4 blocks or even just 2 blocks together. How would they look? Now, these are not square, so I can't do the rotate thing that I often like to do, but I mean, that's even kind of interesting. And I'm thinking that if these were the same color, that would be even better because they sort of weave around each other. Could be kind of fun to do one with white background and be using black and white or white on black prints. So I want to see just how they interact with each other when they're the same as these. But a couple other things I also want to try, and you know, who knows what will happen. So I am going to sit down and I don't know, I'm kind of liking this one now that I think of it. So I'm going to sit down and do a couple more of these to see how they would work together. Different colors here. I may do different white on blacks there, because if I want to continue to make it into a quilt, which sometimes is my intention and this time might actually be, then I don't have enough of this fabric to make a whole quilt with it. And in fact, if I decide to make a quilt, they may not be this size. I may start out with, I don't know, 5-inch squares instead of 2.5. But, or maybe I'll do a combination of them, different sizes. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to make some more of these. I will put in the description box below a link to last week's video so that if you didn't have a chance to view that, you can catch up. I'm just going to use the same process that I did there, so I don't think I need to repeat that for everyone, but I do hope you will go and check that out if it interests you. All right, I'm off to do that, and then we'll come back and talk about maybe some other variations we might do on this. I'm making headway on these. I'm doing 3 more blocks, and I just wanted to let you know the size of the pieces that I'm fitting in here. So it's going to be these, and I don't think I specified a size because I didn't really have one when I did it before. So these I am cutting at 3¼ inches, so it's a 3¼ inch square, and then just like it, slice it corner to corner, and that will give you enough room, plenty of room here to meet that. 3 inches, it's just me. I like to have a little bit more to trim off. So I did 3¼ You could probably get by with 3 if you're having to skimp on fabric a little bit for any particular one. So I just wanted to let you know. And then I'm going to sew these together and then sew those to the center. I have 4 pieces here, and the most straightforward way to put them together, of course, would be like this. And I find that pretty appealing, actually. You could also do it more in columns so that you get that secondary effect in a long line. And then you could say do the next column in blacks. Put it down here where you can see it better. And it would interact with the white on black prints, some more than others. The next logical thing might be to have them spin, which is something that I definitely, like to do with blocks. Problem being, of course, that they are not actually square, which makes this a little more interesting, in fact, but you could easily solve that by adding some white strips on here. I would favor that over cutting them down to size because I don't want to lose any of this piece here. It's an option. If you don't mind doing that, then that certainly is an option. And I kind of like having a consistent white semi background. The secondary color, I guess, is white. And I'm not unhappy with that either. The other thing, well, there's another thing you could do, would be to do it on the sort of diagonal, which will be a little strange because they aren't quite square, but can still work with that. And that, what would we put in the center here? What if we put white in there? Let me grab a piece of white here. If I can find one big enough to, and this is close enough. All right, it will give us the effect we want anyway. To see how that looks. Now I know you aren't all fans of white, so it may not appeal to you. We could make that a rectangle instead of a square so that we really get a secondary design where this is, this would be great for an autograph quilt or a photo quilt. If you have some favorite photos that you want to transfer to fabric. Kind of like that. I'm liking this frame here. That's very cool too. Another thing you could do would be to, I guess, kind of stagger these. And I am now suddenly thinking of the song Stagger Lee. Is that Boz Scaggs? 70s were a long time ago. And see how that might look if you're matching up these double strips there. That gives a chevron or sort of rickrack kind of look to it. So that's a possibility. For the variation today, I want to change out how I do the border around the square. In the previous ones we've done, we've always had a single color border, all white, all black. But in this case, I want to mix the two. And I want to do it in a log, to add those strips in sort of a log cabin style, but with a partial seam. So let me explain. Previously, on the others, I have done 2.5 inch by 1 inch strips on opposite sides. Once those are on, then I have added the 3.5, I think it was, strips on the other two sides. What I want to do with this is to do a partial seam, which means I'm going to start out where this is even over here, but I'm going to leave extra here, and I'm going to leave about 1 inch just because I've been working with inches and it's easier to remember. That will be more than I need, but I can trim it. I am going to start sewing here. I think I've talked about partial seams before, but in case you haven't seen it. So I'm going to start sewing about here so that when I turn that back, I've got this piece kind of flopping around. Because then I'm going to add a black strip here, then I'm going to add a white strip here, and then a black strip here. I'm going to sew that black strip all the way to here, And then I'm going to finish off that seam so that I have an even amount of black and white going all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and do that up to the point where I'm ready to sew on this last strip so you can see what that's about. All right, I've released a seam here so that you can see better, I think, what I'm talking about. So this is the first piece that I put on. This is 3 inches by 1 inch. And I only started stitching about here. Could have been even further down. So flip it over, and I'll pretend that I'm using white thread so that you can see better, and not because I just don't want to change threads that often. So here's where I started, and this is just, I'm just left it there, and now I've pressed that open. Now this black strip, which is also 3 inches by 1 inch, starts up there, sew it all the way down, and then I put a white strip that starts at this end, goes all the way to here. With me so far? Now I'm going to take this black strip, which is also 3 inches by 1 inch, and I'm going to sew that here. When I get to the point up here where I need to finish that seam to the end, I'm going to fold this back, get it out of the way. Then that is, when that is finished, when I've finished stitching that and pressed it back, then I'm going to take this and finish that seam going across, and then I could press that, and I will have a block that I will show you in a minute. Now I'm ready to finish up this seam. By the way, I think I said this was 3 inches. This is actually 4 inches by 1 inch because I just wanted that extra out at the end. Could probably do 3.5 inches actually. All right, so now I have pulled this back to complete that seam, and now I can fold this and finish out that seam. And here is a finished piece. You may have noticed this is a different fabric than I started out with because I did my usual trick of hitting the stop record and it didn't take, and so everything was flipped. When I hit the button again, it stopped recording and I didn't record anyway, it's not unusual for me. Don't let it throw you. So I've got this all laid out, and this partial seam thing is a really useful thing to have to know how to do in quilting. All right, so what I want to do here is to have both black and white in the same corners that I did. So I want both black and white in here. I want to alternate things the same way. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to start with the black over here, just because it keeps me honest and I know exactly where I am. So I'm doing this just as I did for the others, lining up the 1/2 inch line on the opposite corners. And here we are. This looks Halloween. It's also my high school colors. That was many years ago. Now we have a choice here. One of them is to arrange them like, I'll get it, like this, so that I have the black running up and down here and the white across. If I do that, then it matches what I already have. So this piece is at the top. If I do it the opposite way, nope, that's not right. This is what I meant to do. Then I have the special relationships, I'm telling you. And now we have black pieces here, little bits here, and then white. So there's about the same amount of black and white. It's just that some of it's going to be taken up more in the seam. Now, if we do it this way, then it is the opposite of this, where this triangle is at the top here and turned. So then the black would be straight up and down, white the opposite way. But I am going to do it this way in this case, I think. Now I'm going to do it so that it matches how this one is done. Okay, so then when I have these pieces and it forms the secondary pattern, it will do what I want it to do, or what I think I want it to do. Now, I am going to use these two, this black and white print for this, and I'm going to construct it just as I did the others. So I will be back with that. And in fact, the other piece that I finished in the process of not being able to manage the stop button very well. So here we have the piece I was just working on, and here's the one from before. So now we have blocks that have both black and white X's, half black and half white, which I think also makes a really interesting secondary kind of pattern. Quite interesting. Now, if we put those together with what we already have, I keep wanting to put those two teals together. Oops. I should get that right, shouldn't I? And then we come in with another all white one. And then alternating. Oops. Interesting. So that has some possibilities. We could also do in rows or columns, I guess, which would also be fun. They look quite different. I'm a little surprised, I guess, but they do look quite different from the ones that are white. I guess white and black are such strong colors, or lack of colors, that they really pop in different ways. And that is all I'm going to do for today. I'm not sure. Of course, let me know what you think, what layout you like the best. Do you like the all white better? Do you like the combination? Do you like all of that stuff? Just let me know, and how you would put it together. This will probably end up being a quilt at some point, because I really do like it. I just am not sure yet how I'm going to, what the final design or combination is going to be. I kind of like that. Anyway, let me know what you think. Next week, I just don't know at this point. I have some other things that I need to really get to. I need to finish my granddaughter's graduation quilt. She is coming back from her semester in Italy today, actually. So I need to get that completed. I'm not going to have it ready to give to her when she gets home, but I'm not that far from it. So I will just keep plugging at that. And then I also have a long-term project, which is going to take a lot of work and time. So I need to devote some time to that as well. So next week, that's a long way of saying I don't know, but you knew that anyway. Again, please be sure you let me know what you think of this, and I know you will be kind when you do that, and how you might do it. And I hope that I will see you next week, whatever we decide to do. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.